I'm with Thomas Mumford, VP of Exploration for Scottie Resources Corp. Thomas, how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Robert.
Yeah, my pleasure. So let's get an update on Scottie. I remember I met with Brad back in February down in Miami. We discussed the MRE and sort of the timing for that. And it seems that it's been pushed back a little bit. So can you give investors an update on the status of the MRE for Scottie?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were targeting March for our initial MRE for the company, and unfortunately, we got into a bit of a back and forth on pit depth at Blueberry. So we've been doing a little bit more on a trade-off study between, what's the depth of the pit for the Blueberry deposit and where do we go underground for the resource. And so it's been back and forth with a few iterations of that, and we're looking to release it still in the next coming weeks here. I think before the end of April, we'll have that MRE out.
Okay, so the new guidance is this month, so the next 4 weeks, I guess. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So you put out news yesterday, April 1st, ore sorting study. Tell us about ore sorting and why that matters for Scottie.
Yeah, so Scottie's situation, where it is located, we can really kind of take the most advantage of an ore sorting system. So ore sorting by nature is a pre-processing of material. And what you're doing is you're stripping away waste and you're increasing the grade of the remaining product there. And the advantage for us is that we have a lot of optionality on where our ore can go. We've got 2 mills in the local area. We've got Ascot and you've got Brucejack. And then also we have a deep water shipping port. So Scottie's positioned as one of the closest mines in the entire world to a deep water shipping port. It's North America's most northern ice-free port in Canada and North America. And that's just 40 kilometers down the road to Stewart, BC from where our deposit is. So with that context of, shipping ore either to another mill or overseas to an Asian smelter, reducing the amount of material shipped and increasing the grade is of great benefit. So when we looked at ore sorting, we said, is this something that works for our deposit? So we ran a preliminary test here, which is, phase 1 for us of evaluating whether XRF, which is X-ray fluorescence, or XRT, X-ray transmission, do those 2 sensor types work on our deposit? And, the results are a resounding yes, they both work. There's a slight edge to XRF under the recovery curve, but really what our results show is that, we can almost double the grade with recovering about 98% of their gold. So we're losing very little gold into the waste pile, but almost doubling the grade. So you're shipping half the material at twice the grade and not losing very much gold. So it's a huge benefit to us in any model that we propose where we're moving our ore.
So with the XRF, I thought that the XRF technology isn't particularly, effective with gold deposits.
Yeah, so it doesn't visualize gold, like it can't sense gold directly, but what it does is it looks at other products that are associated with gold. So I think in our XRF there was 4 main components, so other chemical elements that are being assessed that give a proxy for gold. So it's not a perfect one-to-one, but the algorithm generated in this stage of ore sorting technology has shown that this is the upgrade potential basing on those elements that are not gold.
I see. So the XRF is able to identify the pathfinders for the gold, and there's a high enough correlation that it's an effective tool to use.
That's a beautiful response. Yes.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so ore sorting. So if you were to explain this to a non-technical investor, how does this potentially have an impact on the economics of Scottie's gold deposits? I mean, does it cut the infrastructure expenses?
Yeah, so with our model of shipping the product off of site in order for the processing and the extraction of gold from that, you lose the capital costs associated with having a tailings facility and having a mill at site. So it drops the capital cost for those dramatically. And then the reduced amount of material that you're shipping reduces the amount of equipment that you need for trucking or transport as well.
I see. So those are, I mean, a mill, it lowers the amount of ore, of rock you have to transport. Those are some big savings there, potentially. So the phase two, or so the phase one
Yep.
study that you did was positive. You know, the results were clearly positive. So tell us what we will know when this phase two study is done.
So phase two, so what we're waiting on right now is our MRE to come out with our, so then we'll be able to know exactly what the grades to expect for the ore sorting. So on the first round of ore sorting, we had to make assumptions on what our grades would be going through the ore sorter, for kind of like your feed grades. When we get our MRE, we're going to be able to know exactly what our feed grades are going to be expected to go through the ore sorter, and we'll be able to tailor the samples for that for phase two. And then at phase two, you're running it through a full scale machine at that point. So you're taking 500 kilogram samples and are running it through an actual ore sorter and seeing what the product is. And you're running it through with the same algorithm that was developed on phase one.
I see. So with the publishing of the MRE and then the completion of the phase two study on ore sorting, Scottie will have a much better concept of how a future mining operation will look. Is that right?
Yeah, and to support that, we want to put those together and form a PEA, and we're trying to do that before the year end this year. So we can use phase one ore sorting study in a PEA, and kind of combined with our MRE, and kind of come up with a PEA on that. And depending on the timing of when the phase two ore sorting results come in, we may use that as well. But wrapping the economics around that, you'll see that in the PEA before the year end.
Okay, so the resource, the ore sorting study phase two, and then all of that feeds into the PEA by year end. Is that right?
That's our plan. Yes.
Okay, got it. So let's talk about drilling, because that's exciting for investors, and I know that's something that you like and specialize in. So what's the plan, Thomas?
Yeah, so we're kind of working through that right now, but with the PEA kind of en route here, one of the next steps would be to upgrade our resource, because this first one to come out will largely be inferred. And in order to apply for a permit amendment to get our permit up and running again, we would need that to be feasibility level. So we're going to need to upgrade our resource from inferred to indicated or measured. So that would constitute a big part of the drilling this year. And then obviously exploration. I mean, Scottie's got a ton of exploration potential. We've established that we are consistently finding new zones every year we go back and drill. So we would continue along with that at the same time as infill. So I see it this year as a very large drill program for us, in excess of 20,000 meters. We've got some zones that we'd love to follow up. So that discovery we made last year are called the Wolf Zone, which is just south of the Scottie Gold Mine and kind of a brand new area around there that hadn't been drilled before. We left the pad up at the end of last year, looking forward to going back there and drilling some holes off of that. C and D, another target that we continually add ounces by drilling out and around that. It's not going to make it into the resource this first go around. So looking to expand that to the point where we can include it into our resource going forward would be another prime exploration target for us.
So the Wolf Zone is sort of a new target area to the south of the M Zone. Last year, I think you drilled like 7 grams over 5 meters at Wolf. So how many holes do you think that you'll plan for the Wolf Zone, and what's the potential that you see there in terms of scale?
I mean, we see the potential of another Scottie M Zone in that area. It's got the same periodicity. The grades are synonymous of what we see in and around the M Zone. But I think we'll start off with at least 2 or 3 holes through the Wolf Zone off the existing pad, just kind of stepping out on that. And then depending on the results of that, kind of optically what we see in the field, then we'll probably add another pad in there to kind of spur more exploration potential off of that Wolf Zone. It's in a very ideal location in terms of being close to the underground mining infrastructure that's already existing, similar grades, and yeah, it's got a lot of good characteristics going for it.
Okay, so 20,000 meters, does that mean 2 rigs, or is that 3 rigs?
Yeah, I'd say that's probably a minimum of 20,000. So I think we're looking at probably starting off with 3 rigs this year.
I see.
Yeah,
So
probably one helicopter rig and then 2 skid rigs on the Blueberry area.
Okay, so then probably you'll have 2 of those rigs to focus on the more well-tested areas to get those up to a higher category, and then you'll have 1 that's stepping out into some new areas and trying to test some new targets.
Yeah, that's the rough concept right now that we're working with. You know, Scottie requires a helicopter assisted rig just to drill anything there that we want to upgrade from inferred to indicated as well. But some of our more adventurous targets like the Wolf Zone are, all helicopter access. Whereas the skid rigs at Blueberry, we can do both infill and expansion drilling around the vein zones.
Okay, so the weather seems pretty good this year. I mean, here we are in early April. It doesn't seem that bad. I'm not exactly sure how it is up in Stewart, but what's the timing that you think of the start of this year's campaign?
Yeah, we're looking at mobilizing in the late June period and trying to be drilling by the start of July, and we can go until mid-October, and we've got, very strong drill production out of our rigs. We're getting 2,500, 3,000 meters a month per rig. So with that kind of seasonal time frame, we're going to get our targets in very easy. We just need to add more rigs if we want to go bigger than 20,000 meters.
Got it. So can you just put a bow tie on the conversation, Thomas, and give us a rough timeline of key catalysts for Scottie for the rest of 2025?
Yeah, I guess you'll see our MRE come out before the end of April, and then following that, we'll be putting out our exploration program for the season. We'll be initiating that phase 2 ore sorting study, early season, late May, early June, probably. Following that, we're looking at drill results from the season, kind of starting to trickle in probably mid-August, late August, and then the PEA out before the year end.
Okay. And I guess one final question. So, I mean, if you're going to have a PEA out by the end of 2025, what is the sort of potential timeline here to actually get this into a mining operation, to actually be, shipping, that ore from Scottie and Blueberry?
Yeah, I think a lot of that's going to depend on the amendment of our mine permit. It's a pretty simple in terms of capital expenditures and getting things up and running. We'd essentially be operating like a mine quarry with having an ore sorter at site, and then it's a lot of trucking and logistical. And we see a lot of potential of opening up the open pit at Blueberry first. So really the uncertainty comes around mine permitting, and we have the advantage of already having an existing mine permit, so it's the amendment process for that. And we've talked around to some of the people that have done permitting in the area, and the way we see it is that we're looking at, once we submit a feasibility level study, we're looking at about a 10 month timeline after that to receive an amended permit if all goes well. So it's kind of a question of how fast can we get to a full feasibility level study.
Got it. All right. Thomas, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. We'll talk again, I guess, when we get that maiden resource estimate, later this month. Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks, Robert. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.